and welcome back to Kingdom Wealth Creators. This is a new video and it is to help you know more about how to pledge your shares and use it as margin for your F&O trades. That's what I mostly do here as well. I do it a little different from what most people that I've observed do. Some people just do bonds and then they pledge them. Some people do shares alone and pledge them. For me, I do a mix of them. I have about 3 crores in my portfolio now. And about 50% of that is in Bharat bonds, and the rest of it is in shares. And then what I do is I will pledge them through CDSL, which is my Demat account, and that margin will be reflected back in my Finvasia trading account. Now the NSE already has a calculation on how much haircut or how much margin they will provide for each type of bond or each share, each company's share. And that number would vary from each company to company, from each bond to each bond, from ETF to ETF, and all of that. And so if you want that information, you can go up to the NSE website. I will put a link down in the description box where you can go and click on that, and you can download an Excel which shows the various haircuts for all the different shares and the bonds and ETFs available on the NSE. Now, basically, why is this important? Well, one, nowadays, the SEBI rule that the pledged shares do not go into the brokerage account means that it stays in your Demat account, makes it even better for us to pledge our shares and use that as margin. Before, when it would go into the broker's account, there was always the possibility that they might do something with those shares, manipulate them, sell them off themselves, make money out of it. That danger no longer exists, because when you pledge it, it still remains in your account. Secondly, before, when you used to pledge it and when you sell it, first you had to unpledge it before you could sell it. But what I've seen is that after this new rule came in, is that when I have something that's pledged, I can sell it and it automatically unpledges, which frees up which gives us the ability to pledge something, use it as margin. And if we feel we need to exit or sell some of those shares, we can still do it without having to go through the very technical and hard journey of unpledging first. Because when you unpledge, it will take a day for it to reflect before you can sell it. So for example, I'll give you this example. I had shares of Tata Motors that I have pledged, and if you remember, on Friday the market fell quite a bit, and Tata Motors broke my support level, the level that I was keeping as support. And so as soon as it broke that support, if in the earlier instance I had pledged it, I wouldn't be able to sell it until I have unpledged it. And that would take another day, right? By that time, we don't know what would happen to Tata Motors. But in today's scenario, I was able to sell the share, and then the CDSL, the Demat account, would unpledge it automatically at the end of the day. So that's the second reason why I would pledge. The third reason is basically, again, it has to do with our trust of brokers. A lot of people would say, it's very risky to put, a huge amount of money of cash just lying around in the broker's account, because what if something happens to the broker the next day or tomorrow, and you lose all that money, right? Or get stuck. Now, what happens for me, or what I do, is basically the cash that I have, excess cash that I have lying around, I would just buy shares or bonds or something. And so now that would come into my CDSL Demat account. And my CDSL Demat account is not going to get stuck if the broker goes broke or the broker disappears, right? And so that is the third reason why I do a lot of pledging, or to safeguard my excess cash. So what I do is, when I have excess cash, I will buy some shares that are beaten down, or some bonds or something, and then the next day, once it's in my account, after 2 days, I would pledge it. So this works in a lot of good ways. One, I get to safeguard my excess cash. Second, I get to safeguard my shares and bonds and stocks. I can sell them whenever I want to, even if I pledge them. Third, by pledging them, I get the margin that is allocated to different shares and stocks and bonds by the NSE, and I can use that margin to either buy or sell futures or sell options. Margin pledging does not work for buying options, but it works for buying and selling futures and for selling options. And so this is an amazing way that you can use margin pledging. And so now we're going to look at how this works in the rest of the video. Yeah, this is the entry page for CDSL. You can either log in through Easy or Easiest, and so I do it through my Easy, and I'm going to log in. Okay, so this takes me to my DMAT account on CDSL, and what I do next is I go to this. You can see a whole bunch of tabs here. I'm going to the pledge portion, and here you can see inquiry, pledger, and pledgee. You are the pledger, and the brokerage that you use is the pledgee, right? So I'm going to the pledger portion, which is me. All right, so it says no record found. You can go from there. Now, first, what we got to do is we got to go to this button called Pledge Setup. I'm going to click it, and that takes me to this page where you have the pledge setup. Now, you can do a normal pledge or a margin pledge, but for us we need to do a margin pledge. So I'm going to click that margin pledge. The next thing that we got to do is choose the pledgee ID, because you might have the same DMAT account for a whole bunch of brokerages, Finvasia, Zerodha, Kotak, or all of that. You can actually choose which you want to pledge with. So I'm going to choose the Finvasia broker ID, and I click that, choose that. Next, I'm going to set an expiry date. Now you can set whatever expiry date you want, and normally I set it quite far out, and so I'm going to put this December 1st 2029. All right, there you go. Next, you got to come down to this UCC details button. This is very important. You got to pick which broker you want to pledge with and which segment. So what we got to do now, you can see here I have my previous Kotak brokerage, then TN1265. So you can see here I have my previous Kotak brokerage, which I've closed. Then this is Zerodha, and then this one is Finvasia. So I'm going to choose the cash market, because we're going to pledge shares from our equity portfolio or our cash market. So I'm going to choose that, and then I'm going to click this TM ID. Both of these are important, by the way. You got to make sure you click the correct segment, the correct brokerage, and then this TM ID, and then you press select. It comes back here. It populates all the tabs by itself, and then finally I'm going to switch from cash market to AL. This is for the pledging part. Now that we are done with that, what we're going to do is add the shares that we want to pledge. So I come to this ISIN details tab. I click the add button, and this pop-up window pops up, which shows you have to enter the ISIN, which is basically the ISIN number for each particular company. And to make it easy, you have this lookup, which is easier, and once you click that, it'll show you all the shares that you have in your portfolio. Now please remember, it does not show which shares you have already pledged. It just shows all the shares you have. So you got to remember which are the ones that you need to pledge and accordingly go. For example, I'll give you an example here. I'm going to pledge some of my Strides Pharma shares. So I click Strides Pharma. You can see that I have 300 shares of Strides Pharma, but I've already pledged 250 of those. So I'm going to enter 50, and the value is about 24,000 now. And so then I'm going to click OK. So when that is done, you can see that you've added Star or Strides Pharma. And then I'm going to add a few more. Now you can add how many ever you want, but normally I do about 5 different shares a day, and that's about it. I don't try to do more than that, but you can do how many ever you want. You can add all your shares if you want to, but I'll tell you why I do 5 a day, just for your consideration. All right. Now next one is future consumer. So now I have 5 of these. What I'm going to do, like I said, you can have way more. You can pledge way more shares if you want to, if you have them. But I'm going to just do these 5. I'm going to click all of them, and then I'm going to click this submit button. So when you click the submit button, what it shows up is you have a pledge request with successfully with 5 records, right? So that means you have done this portion correctly, all right? Now that we're done with this, we go back again to pledge, again to pledger, but this time instead of going to pledge setup, we're going to do this filter. So what I'm going to do in the filter is, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just going to click on margin pledge, and then I'm going to search. All right, so once I hit the filter like that, I can see that I've already put 5 of these for pledging. So now you can see the status is that I've just set it up and I'm initiated it, but it is not pledged yet. So what I do is I can only pledge them one at a time. So when you come down, you can see that the 5 shares that I'm going to pledge are already set up here. The pledge status is showing setup. The verification is already initiated. Now I can't commit them all in one shot. I have to commit them one at a time. So I click, choose one, and then I go press this commit. Do you want to commit? Yes. And then there's the CDSL pin that all of us have. You got to enter your pin, and no thanks. They will ask you if you want to download the PDF with the acknowledgement copy of committing or pledging that share. I choose not to, so no. Now if you see, all of them are pending for OTP. Now I'll tell you why I do only 5 each day. Because the moment I do more than 5, this is CDSL's issue, I guess. It'll go into a second page. And every time I commit, it comes back to page number 1. Then I'll go back to the second page. If there's more than 10, then it'll be a third page. So it gets a lot more hectic, in terms of switching pages. And just me, I don't like that. And so what I've decided is every day I will pledge 5 shares, and that's it. Okay, so this is done. This portion is done. So what we're going to do now is go to CDSL's main page, where you will see a whole bunch of quick links. Okay, so this is CDSL's main page. You go to quick links, and there you can see something called OTP authentication. So I click OTP authentication, and then here I have the option to enter my PAN card. And now here you can see all the shares that I have pledged, right? The 5 shares that I pledged. So I'm just going to click them all, select all, and it selects all of them together. And then I click the generate OTP button, and they send me an OTP to my mobile number and my email ID. Yeah, so I check my email, and this is my OTP for this pledging. So I submit, and when I click submit, it says now I am not going to re-pledge. So that is where we have to be careful. Sometimes people, by mistake, they've already pledged the share, they try to re-pledge it again. You cannot do that. So just be mindful of what is pledged, what is not pledged. And then I click OK, and then CDS will pop up, selected transaction verified successfully. After this, you can see that that page is empty again. You will get an email and an SMS notification saying that the CDSL has accepted these shares as pledge. And now the next working day, it will be reflected as margin in your broker's account. Now the good thing about the new, like I said before, the new rules for pledging, when you pledge the shares, they are not going to be transferred from your CDSL or your demat account into your broker's account. They still remain in your account. And plus, when you sell them, you don't have to wait to unpledge them first. You sell them, and then CDSL automatically unpledges them. Makes it a lot more easier. And this is why I pledge all my shares. Thank you so much. I hope that really helped you understand the power of margin pledging, how it can really help you when it comes to doing F&O trades, while making sure that your cash is not simply lying around and you have it, in shares or bonds or whatever. And at the same time, you can pledge it, and when you want to sell it, you can sell it. And so this makes a huge difference. You will see that the bonds and the shares are also gaining while you make money on the F&O trades as well. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this has helped you in your investment journey on the stock market.